Thank you so much for coming online to meet me. My name is Gertrude Mache. I am normally based in Wellington, New Zealand, but today I am in Melbourne, Australia. My sincere apologies for not responding to your Harrow responses in time. My daughter actually had a baby a bit earlier than we expected, so I had to dash out to Australia, hence the delay in my responding when you came back to me on the Harrow query that I put out. She then developed a few complications.
Congratulations.
It's been a horrendous 2 weeks. She had to go back into hospital again, but they're finally home and everything is fine. So thank you for coming online and meeting me. So I wanted us to have this time for me to explain the vision and the mission behind the Power of Giving magazine and the reason why I put out that query. If you took time to watch my TED Talk, I am from Zimbabwe originally. I have a passion for education, having grown up in a very, very poor environment, got a good education that got me out of poverty. And so throughout my career, I have given back to children in disadvantaged communities. I raise money, I sponsor kids all over the continent, in Southeast Asia, here in the South Pacific, in the Caribbean. And I came up with this idea to put together a magazine and try and attract people who have a passion for education to come on board. It's a social impact movement, which stemmed from another social impact movement that I created called Herstory, where I started curating stories by women from all over the world. Now, the social impact aspect of what I do is your story will be shared on a podcast, in a magazine. We have a YouTube channel that we're setting up. We've got a podcast channel that we're setting up, and a physical and an electronic magazine as well. So the contribution from you would be a story, 3,000 to 5,000 words about why you are passionate about education. How did you get into this field? Where did you start? What have you done throughout your career in education? The other aspect is the magazine. It is a 1,000-word article. Again, in the magazine, we just want a snapshot of your life, who you are you married, have you got children, kind of your backstory. So we get an essence of everybody who's participating in this social impact initiative. So we're looking for 100 educators. So if you've got friends, if you've got colleagues that you can introduce to us, please do that. If you want to see some of my work, go onto YouTube. The existing channel is called the Herstory Circle TV. And there's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of interviews I've done with people for the Herstory platform. So I'm replicating what I've done there and creating an education platform as well. Now, the social impact aspect of what I do is all of these stories are curated into a series of books, an anthology series. We personalize every single book that's produced. You will be published with 9 other educators in one volume. So we have 10 people in each volume, very similar to this. The first story will be yours, and then there's 9 other stories in that book. So you need to email me what you want as the front cover picture, the potential title of your book, and it's just the title of your chapter. And we personalize every single cover for every person who comes onto this platform. So that is one aspect. And the ask is that you help us sell 30 copies of your book. That's how we raise the money for social impact. We have a number of projects that we are trying to lift up. One is the projects in Zimbabwe, where for 90 days, I collected books. I would give presentations and talks in primary schools all over New Zealand. And when I got to a school, I'll tell the principal of the school to tell the kids to bring any books they don't want. So reading material is very, very difficult to come by in Southern Africa. Our government has not touched the rural schools in 35 years. Schools are dilapidating, and I have been rebuilding rural schools. And the vision that I have, and I will share this in another short little video, is to build a library and a clinic. So healthcare and education are the two major issues in most African countries. I am not allowed to go into the healthcare field. The Zimbabwean government lost in the elections in my district, and they have punished my community from getting access to the free HIV drugs that are available, that World Health is distributing for free in Southern Africa. So people are dying of AIDS in 2021 because of poverty and politics. So the vision that I have is to ship these books. I collected 65,000 books. I belong to the Rotary Club, and my Rotary Club sponsored and bought a 40-foot container for me to ship these books to Zimbabwe. When the books arrive in the community, we will build a library. We will empty out the container. Then we will refurbish the container into the first health clinic in this community as well. So we're planning to do this right throughout Zimbabwe, throughout Southern Africa. I'm working with a lot of educators on the ground. We're trying to raise money right now for a project in Uganda. It's a small, again, rural school that we are trying to build. We are just about finished. We need about $15,000 to finish that project. We need to raise money to install a borehole so they have running water and supply them with solar panels so they have power. So that's
Can I just ask a question?
Yes, sure.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's why you're here.
So I have a number of children's books that I've written that I'd be happy to donate if you tell me where to send them.
That would be fantastic. And I'll tell you the easiest thing to do. Are they already printed?
Yes, they're printed.
Okay. I will give you an address in an email. So the email that I will send you will have an address that you can ship any writing material. However, we might get stuck with having to pay customs duty on these books. So make sure that when you package them, you write a letter saying that it's a donation to the Rotary Club. And I will give you the details of the Rotary Club that will receive them. So in Africa, we have a lot of issues with corruption, with government, with customs. What would be even better, Karen, if you are open to this? If you self-publish the books and you can give us the manuscript, the cover, and the interior, we can print the books in Africa to cut out the shipping costs. Then we can distribute them in all of the rural schools that we are supporting in Southern Africa. We will raise the money for the printing on the ground through this initiative as well. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm happy to pay the shipping costs.
Yeah, it's not just the shipping that we are faced with. We're faced with customs duties as well.
And do you know what those are? How expensive?
We can never tell until they get there, unfortunately. So it will depend on how many copies you give us. And customs, they do an evaluation and then they charge duty. So we could start with a small batch, see what that comes to when they hit the ground. Maybe 100 copies to start off with if you have that kind of quantity.
I do.
And then we'll find out how much it actually costs.
All right. And then if necessary, I can send you PDFs.
Yeah. PDFs are the best way to go because it cuts out shipping, it cuts out customs duty. So you would rather, if you were in a position to donate a bit of money for the shipping costs, I can get them printed in country.
Okay.
That will be the best way to help. The challenge right now with COVID as well is there's a very high tariffs on shipping. You're going to find when you go to the post office and you're trying to send off books, the tariffs are extremely high because there's not as many airlines traveling at the moment. I actually have a few boxes sitting in California right now. We approached DHL and tried to get a discount. I used to get discounts through DHL. DHL used to produce what are called jumbo boxes. So you buy a 100-kilo box and you can put as many books as you want, so long as it's 100 kgs. but they've scrapped that as well. So that's no longer there. It was the cheapest way that we could ship books to Africa. So I have a whole lot of books sitting in California that I can't move. It's going to cost $27,000 to get those books to Africa, and it's just not cost effective.
Wow. Okay, that's expensive.
It is. Well, it was a lot of books, though. It was another lady who had collected through her school for us. So I think it's almost like 300 kgs worth of books.
So if you also share with me what you need from my publisher, I can talk to them. I have some of the books as PDFs.
Yeah,
that are downloadable.
That are downloadable, the interior and the exterior.
Yeah, and I have that.
The other drive that we're going to have is with educators who would like to write children's books. So I have a publishing company here in Wellington, in New Zealand. I work with helping people to self-publish their own content. And the idea that we have is to have a group of educators to write a series of books that we can get translated into different languages in Africa, in Southeast Asia, so that the books can be read in the vernacular languages of the children as well. So if you're inspired to contribute in that sense, please respond to the email that I will send out, because we're going to have a drive around that as well.
So just so you know, some of my books are bilingual, English, Spanish.
Okay.
And I can also do English, French.
Yeah, so in Africa, we have French, we have Portuguese. We didn't have any Spanish colonizers, but definitely the French and Portuguese would be the two other languages that are spoken in Africa. So it's French, English, Portuguese are the main languages. Now we are having an online summit where we are looking for 100 educators to come and speak at an online conference in September. The tentative dates are the 23rd and 24th of September. So if anybody is open to coming to speak at this summit, please, again, respond to this email that I'm going to send out with this recording. You will do a 15-minute presentation on anything you want to talk about. The theme of the conference is the power of education. So you could share a 15-minute story. We're trying to create a TED Talk style presentation that you can put out with your ideas, your experiences in the education world. So it's a 15-minute presentation. You record yourself speaking, you email us the video, we will edit it, and on the day of the summit, you'll be allocated a speaking slot. What we are doing is we run 5 videos, one after the other, back to back. And then we invite the people who have contributed the videos to come to a fireside chat. We broadcast all of these summits on a platform called E360 TV. So we were picked up by an organization in Phoenix, Arizona. And E360 is an amazing platform. They allow us to broadcast broadcast quality video all over the world. I will show you what E360 looks like and how wide the viewership is for the content, the video content. So the video content goes out to 9 platforms. They go out to Facebook, YouTube, Roku, Amazon Fire, Android, ISO, Apple TV, all at the same time. When we had our first online summit in December, we did it on this platform and it was so effective. We got so many views on the video content. So all of these videos help us drive traffic to our website. It shines a light on all of the projects that we're involved with. So E360 TV showed up and they are now partnering with us to get our video content online. We then strip the audio from that summit and we push out the audio on a podcast platform that goes out to 20 other platforms like Spotify, Apple. So we're really trying to get your stories out in a bigger way. 54% of the viewers on E360 TV are female, and they get anywhere from 300 to 500,000 views per month. So it'll give you a lot of exposure. What I would like to know is how we can be of support to you. We have a lot of educators who have retired, who've gone into the coaching world, who want to get access to children, to coach them online. We are creating a parenting show on our platform as well, so that you can get access to parents who are looking for educators to help them. So that's another aspect to what we're trying to do, is to support the people who are supporting us in any small way that we can. So if you've got a coaching business and you are planning to expand that coaching business and you're looking for more visibility, you can do that through our channel as well. So this is the E360 Reach. It is broadcast quality video. Demographic, 54% are female, 300 to 500,000 views a month. And like I said, it's Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, Android, ISO, Facebook, and YouTube. The videos get downloaded every month, anywhere from 2 to 2.2 million downloads a month. So I'll stop talking now and just get to know you a little bit, Karen, because you came online. Would love to respect your time and just get to know who you are. Why are you passionate about education?
So I thought your questionnaire was a very thoughtful one, asking very relevant questions. I think that my involvement in education started very young. I grew up in a family of educators, and all 5 children became educators.
Okay.
And different aspects of education, to be sure, but all education. And over the years, I've taught everything from pre-kindergarten all the way through adult education. And for 8 years, I was a university president. And then I became the senior policy advisor to the U.S. Department of Education under the Obama administration.
Okay.
And I think one of the things that I realized, having done a lot of graduate and undergraduate education, is that if you truly want to reform education, you have to back the train up very early. Mm-hmm. And as important as the work was that I did in higher education and graduate education, early childhood and elementary school education is actually where you have to start. Yeah. And so I started writing children's books, a children's book series with a multiracial character as the heroine, who wants to be a knight in the Middle Ages and is told, no, girls can't be knights. Okay. And then she becomes a knight and goes on a series of quests, and each book is another one of her quests. Okay. And I serve as an artist in residence at an elementary school in Vermont. But I should say that my real specialty started as crisis management and disasters that struck schools, from school shootings to floods to earthquakes. And more recently, much of my time is spent on the trauma that students and educators experience, most particularly in the last 18 months from the pandemic, and racial and ethnic tensions and family dysfunction and every other sort of trauma that children across the globe have experienced. And so much of my time and my writing And my newest book is all about the invisible backpack that holds our trauma that we carry with us and that grows, sadly, as we move forward.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, the world is in a bit of a crisis at the moment, Karen. So many parents are struggling with kids at home, needing support. Part of what I want to do with creating this education platform is to give people access to educators who are at home and are in a position to help. When I started in this work, so I am not an educator. I'm just a woman who is extremely passionate about education because I got out of poverty because of it. I was blessed to have two amazing parents who put me through private school from the age of 6, not because they had the money, but they realized the power that education had, and they instilled that in all of their children. When I moved to New Zealand 21 years ago, like I said, this is my second pandemic. I had lost a lot of family members because of the AIDS pandemic. My grandmother had 11 children. She had 34 grandchildren. 19 of my first cousins died of HIV-related diseases. We had 49 orphaned kids on my side of the family alone, another 40 on my ex-husband's side. So my initiative started with me trying to just support family members. I was looking for a way to make money, so I self-published my memoir. And that book took on a life of its own, Karen. I would speak for free in any social networking group that needed a guest speaker. I would go and give my time for free with a mission to sell 100 copies a month. I'll make $3,500 every single month. It only costs $5 to send a child to school in rural Zimbabwe. That's 3 months of education, $15 a year. The average person in my community today in 2021 exists on the equivalent of 30 US cents a month. Zimbabwe is one of the poorest countries in Africa right now. So for people to afford $5 to send kids to school, we've got kids sitting at home. Parents aren't able to afford to send them to school. So that's how I started. It started with this book. I then took over a small primary school where my husband went to school, and it had about 350 kids. And I would raise the money for food, for the school fees, for stationery, for books. When I got started, I realized infrastructure was another major issue. The rural schools have not been touched in the 35 years that we lived under the dictatorship of Robert Mugabe. So I started rebuilding the school. And to rebuild the school, I trained the community how to make the bricks that we needed for the rebuild. I created what are called building brigades. They would make the bricks, would give them a $50 loan to buy 5 bags of cement and make 1,000 bricks that we bought back at 25 cents a piece. So it created employment for people in this community. I then started training all the women in the community who know how to sew to cut and make the school uniforms, so we don't have to go to a wholesaler for school uniforms. This has uplifted this little rural school in the most magical way. I then created a tourism business to bring educators to Zimbabwe to see how the money is being spent. And that turned everything around. I had a company called Walk on the Wild Side Tours before COVID. It was a 15-day trip where you got to spend 10 days in a community that has no electricity, no running water, working with the children, working with my teachers. I was charging $15,000 for this trip. I would show the teachers how to make the money. And that is what helped me rebuild the school and scale. So I was just about to go back and try and scale that project before COVID. So many things have kind of stopped me in my tracks in terms of being able to go back. I also realized that hunger was a big problem. Most kids would come to school. Within 10 minutes, the children would fall asleep, Karen.
I've had the same experience, actually, sadly, in the US. That
it is
in
a tragedy.
Underserved, communities,
yes,
lots of children actually sleep in school, in part from food scarcity, but also because they don't have a comfortable place to sleep at home, or they're caregiving for other children in the home, or they're taking care of parents who have abused drugs or had too much alcohol. I just saw a recent study that globally, from the pandemic alone, 1.5 million children lost their primary caregiver. And that doesn't, which is the highest, by the way, since the AIDS epidemic, it does not include deaths from other causes.
Yeah.
And so when you think about globally the number of children who now don't have a guardian, it's rather extraordinary as we try to think about how to help all those children.
We can do it if we come together, if people who are passionate about education start collaborating. This was my school when I started. This is one of the houses for the teachers. Like I said, water and sanitation is an issue. These are the toilets. There's no running water in this school. That is the teacher's desk. Blackboards are run down. There's a lot of work to be done in rural schools in Southern Africa. This is when I started this little project. That was our library, completely dilapidated, no books, no reading material. Pens, paper, stationery is an issue. When the teachers run out of paper, they teach the kids to write scribbling in the sand. I picked up one of these books. Most of them were dated to 1967, the year that I was born. That's the school before I started. And this is the community that I came from. I ended up becoming a systems analyst, a COBOL programmer. I have traveled to 56 countries as a motivational speaker. So education changed my life completely. This is a picture of one of the school, the trips that I took. I support an orphanage that has kids who are HIV positive and have physical and mental disabilities. I raise money for wheelchairs, to refurbish the environments they're in so they get access to handlebars when they get out of a shower, railings. And this is an amazing couple that I met in Johannesburg who are now supplying us with everything we need. This lady's
So
name
it's interesting. I did a partnership with a school in Tanzania with the elementary school where I work. And we actually did some shared activities with my books.
Okay.
Between the US kids and the kids in Tanzania.
That is really nice.
Yes, but with the pandemic, that has not happened.
Stopped. So. Yeah. So this is a good friend of mine. Lena was one of the first educators who came on my trip. She came on the very first trip. We had just started a feeding program. So when I noticed that the kids were hungry, we started giving the kids a bowl of porridge every morning. It cost me 15 cents to feed a child in Zimbabwe every day. All the villagers started sending the under 5-year-olds to the school every morning for food. I couldn't turn them away, Karen, so I started a preschool. And Lena is an early childhood teacher who came the year that I started the preschool. For a year, she started raising money in New Zealand. She came back with me. This is what she supplied the school with. She helped me outfit the preschool. And she's now the support that I have in running the little preschool. And it changed everything because now the mothers who normally go into the fields with the children on their backs have got a safe place to leave the little ones. So when we go to Zimbabwe, we fly through South Africa. I take my teachers on a small tour. We go to Nelson Mandela's house. This is his original home in Soweto. We go to all of the wholesale so you can see money being spent. This is my team receiving all of our guests when we arrive. That's my brother and his family. This is one of my aunts, the lady with the green wrap around her legs. She had 7 children who all died of AIDS. She has 15 grandchildren under 12. No income, no money, 92 years old. This is her home. She just died last year. So the kids now are with family members. So we are not putting the children in orphanages. The orphanages are not working. There's so much corruption in Zimbabwe. The money that's donated doesn't get through to the kids. So we look for family members to care for the children. We support them with the money for food, for the education, for medication. We were trying.
So can I ask you a question? Have you ever brought an American teacher to live there for 3 weeks or a month to help you?
One woman came with us so far. She found it extremely challenging. The educators who are coping are the ones from New Zealand and Australia, because you will be living in a community with no electricity and no running water for 10 days. So that's one of the realities of these trips. It is very, very challenging. So I do warn people that it's not going to be comfortable. It is doable, and I can put you in contact with the people who have come. Like, this is us trying to sink a borehole. This is the community, the men in my community trying to dig. The water table in our community is very low. We failed with this project until I raised the money to actually get a company to come and drill a borehole. So we've now got the borehole drilled. We're raising money for a submersible pump and the solar panels to run the pump. So we need about $5,000.
How is the pandemic affecting you all?
It is huge. The government is not keeping up the statistics of what is actually happening in the country.
Do you have vaccines?
No vaccines. They've started rolling out the vaccines in some of the cities, but in rural parts of Zimbabwe, there's nothing. We don't even know how many have died. People are just dying. They just get buried. We don't know.
Is travel even allowed?
At the moment, no. At the moment, no. The Delta virus is taking its toll there. Yeah, so a lot of that I'm doing in Africa is being done remotely. I have a team on the ground in South Africa and Zimbabwe who help with receiving goods and distributing and documenting everything for us. This was a small blanket drive. A lady in California donated all of these baby blankets. The last time I went there, I distributed blankets. This is the orphanage that I support in Bulawayo. A lot of the children are HIV positive. They have physical and mental disabilities as well. And this is when we went to drop off mattresses, toys, wheelchairs. This project is run by Catholic nuns. It's called Mustard Seed Communities, started by the Catholic Church. So I've got a really good team now on the ground who help me with everything. So I'm really grateful for that. I've tried to document everything. So my company is called Walk on the Wild Side Tours. So for 10 days, you're in this community, no electricity, no running water, training my teachers, working with the children. The last 5 days is 5-star. You go on a trip to the Victoria Falls. This is a conservation project that we support in the Vic Falls. These lions are orphaned lions. The man who runs this project has reared these little lion cubs in captivity. So you can go for a walk on the wild side. It's a humbling trip. You can get so close to nature. And this is an anti-poaching project as well. So my whole passion is around the environment. These are my kids when I went with them when they were little. You can go whitewater rafting, bungee jumping, the game park reserves. We do the game drives at day and at night, which is a completely different experience. And we support this conservation project there. So this is the Walk on the Wild Side tours. And what happened with this is it generated the funds that I needed to start training community to make the bricks and to rebuild the school. It's created employment. It's probably one of the best ideas I've had so far in terms of how to raise the money for these communities. This is me and my ex-husband running a health clinic. Like I said, there is no health facilities in this community. The nearest hospital is 40 kilometers away. The Zimbabwean government has punished this community because they didn't vote for this regime in the last elections. So we have been cut off from the HIV drugs that World Health is distributing. It costs $2 to get on the bus to go to the nearest community clinic, but nobody's got the $2 to be able to do that. So what I did is I negotiated with the clinic that if I can bring this container in, the container is really a Trojan horse. I'm allowed to work in education. So it will get to the village stocked with 65,000 books. When we empty out the books for the library, we refurbish the container into the first clinic. I've already identified a nurse to run and man the clinic. We will buy her a car. So we're trying to raise money for a vehicle. And she will go and pick up the health workers 40 kilometers away from World Health and bring them to the community so they can continue running the HIV clinics. And that cuts out the transport costs as well for the community. So me and my ex-husband did all we could. People would come to our home. That's him running a clinic, taking blood pressure, checking the women in the community. But I need to create the facilities to be able to do this and support the community with healthcare. So we've done what we can, in very small ways with very small amounts of money. It's just us going back home and lending the support. And one of the things that I am trying to do, if any of you know African educators, other people from the African continent, I'm trying to inspire people like me who are in the diaspora to go back to our communities and support. This was my little preschool when I started. This is when I started the feeding program. We had no desks, no chairs. Zimbabwe is very cold in winter. Our temperatures go below zero. And we have these concrete floors. I just had sacks, a few chairs. And now, because of my friend Lena, we've managed to refurbish the toilets. Water and sanitation is a big issue. The kids don't have water to wash their hands when they come out of the toilet, so diarrhea is a big issue as well. But we've managed to rebuild most of this. We just have to go in every couple of years, repaint, refurbish. So that is our little preschool. And so when Lena came back a year later, this is Lena, she's an educator here in New Zealand, and Raywin is another good friend in education. These two women raised the money to refurbish this preschool for us. That's what it looked like before. And she's been training all of my preschool teachers, all the new methodologies from the West. So we need people to train the teachers as well.
So that actually interests me. And I know someone also who's a conservationist and water expert.
We need help on that front. Water and sanitation is a big issue.
Yeah, this is a public health person who worked in water supply.
Do connect me with anyone in that world. Yeah, this is what rural Zimbabwean schools look like at the moment.
So I have a colleague who became head of a school in maybe Kenya,
Okay.
a girls' school, also struggling.
Do connect them with us. If you know anyone on the continent who's needing support, I have a lot of Kenyan women in my community who are in the Western world who are looking for projects on the ground. So for me, it's all a matter of reminding people where they're from, showing them the privilege that we have being where we are and how we can go back to our communities and help. So if you know anyone who is on the ground in Africa needing support, do an email introduction and
I will do that. I know several people who are running schools in different parts of Africa.
That is excellent. Yeah, this is the day that we went for the first time and refurbished the first school. The community came up. Everybody was painting. Anybody who could hold a paintbrush was there to help. It was like a 10-day miracle, Karen.
Well, most of my time is spent helping underserved communities and helping students become their best selves.
We need more people like you.
I appreciate your efforts.
We need more people like you. Doesn't take a lot to change the world.
We seem to need a lot of people like you.
That's why I'm trying to show the example of what's possible when one person steps up and goes back to her community and helps. It doesn't take a lot. And these inspiring stories can bring on board a lot of people who are trying to find ways to help but don't know how. And then they meet someone like me who's on the ground doing the work. It's not that difficult. So I'm trying to just create that bridge between people in the Western world and people in developing countries so we can create some magic. That was our little 10-day miracle when we refurbished the school. So I really want to thank you, Karen, for showing up today. And thank you to everybody who's going to listen to this video. Karen, I will put this online and send you a link to the YouTube video. If you could share that in as many schools, connect me with as many educators as you can. And this goes to everybody else who's listening, who had responded to my query. And Karen, I will send you a link to book so I can do the podcast interview with you. It will be on video, and then we will strip out the video and share that on our audio platform as well.
And why don't you share with me also where you prefer the PDFs and other children's books?
I will definitely send that to you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everybody for listening. It's an absolute honor to meet you. And thank you again, Karen. I really appreciate you being online to meet me today.
I am delighted to meet you. And I look forward to seeing what we can do together.
I will see you soon. And when you get my calendar invitation, if any of the times aren't available next week, just email me. I will slot you into the program. Just remind me your time zone so I can do the time conversion.
Okay, very good.
Wonderful. And the interview is just 30 minutes, but on video.
Onward.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
A good day.
Bye-bye.